everyone. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper, and I want you to imagine a world where the roles of gender and power are flipped, and a woman-led army uses combat magic to fight terrorist threats. Sounds pretty awesome, right? Well, that's the premise of Freeform's new show, Motherland, Fort Salem. And here to talk about the show are its stars, Taylor Hickson, Ashley Nicole Williams, and Jessica Sutton. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
We're so awesome.
so amped.
Exhausted, but
yeah,
awesome.
We're just
Living the
so
dream.
happy to be here.
I love the enthusiasm you have for the show. We just watched the trailer, and you guys were like quoting it.
Oh
and
yeah, you want to know how many times we've seen it? About like 1,000, but we still love it every time.
Are you just excited for people to finally get to see the show? I'm sure you've spent months working on it, and the anticipation is built
I mean,
up.
for us, it's been like 2 years in the making for some of us.
Yeah,
And,
I actually booked it today last year, like on
it's
today,
exactly a
March
year,
12th.
which is awesome.
So.
And then, I think 2 years for you and I, and then 10 years plus
For
for
Eliot.
Eliot and
our
a lot of
creator.
the creators behind the show. So.
And I did read that it took 10 years for them to get it, and I think it's because the premise is so unique, and we're just in this time where it's like the perfect story for now. Like I'm happy that it's happening
so
right now.
So
Yeah.
current.
Who wants to sort of break down the premise of the show? Who's the best at that?
Set in an alternative. Let me try that again. Motherland is set in an alternative America where witches have escaped prosecution 300 years ago by signing a deal with the U.S. government to fight on their front lines.
She memorized that word for word.
That was really
Word
good.
for
That was
frickin'
amazing.
word,
Thank you.
baby.
I think we're done. I think that's the whole interview. Like people know what
We're
they're in
done,
for
we're
now.
Okay.
Good.
And Taylor, I'll start with you. You play Raelle. So tell us a little bit about her. I think at one point somebody said that she's like the mix of youth, beauty, and fury. I think that was a really great descriptor.
Yeah, I think that's a quote from Amalia's character, Scylla. But I mean, she's initially off the bat, you see her to be very intense, very jaded, very reckless. And I think throughout the arc of the story, you see her motivations change, and maybe she becomes a bit more of a team player rather than focused on just an individual strategy. So, but off the bat, you definitely see her to be fury in all its glory.
definitely a rebel.
Warm, fury, and shiny, as we say. Yeah.
You'll get the reference when you watch the show.
When you watch
very
it.
true.
And each of these soldiers are witches, and so what is Raelle's sort of special power? Does she have like a special skill?
Yeah, so all three of us, we have different powers, or we do specialize in different work. I guess we don't actually use the word magic in the show. So for me, I'm a healer, so I heal the sick.
Yep. I'm a leader, as in the promos, but I will be a blaster. Yeah.
What is it? Wait, can you tell us what a blaster?
Yeah.
You gotta enlighten us on that one.
You know, a lot of storm. I'm trying a lot of fury. No, I'm trying not to give everything away, but I'm very, very powerful in
Hands-on
my
combat, I
craft.
guess.
Yeah.
Like, very physically powerful, I guess, rather
and,
than.
she takes her work very seriously and is
And she's from
kick ass at it. If I can say that, I don't know.
You
if
can.
I
Curse. If you can- It's the
and she's
internet.
from military royalty.
Yep.
Like Abigail Bellwether.
Yeah,
I was gonna
I'm a
say, set
bellwether.
up. So Abigail comes in and she's like down for the cause. Like she's like the most.
This is what she was born to do. She was raised knowing that she was going to be in the military. She comes from a long lineage of lieutenants and generals. So she cannot fail. If she fails, she's the first bellwether to fail. And that's just a bellwether doesn't fail. You see what I'm saying? So she definitely is an alpha. You see that queen bee type. And with Raelle, she's not taking it seriously, but this is what I was made to do. You see what I'm saying? So we kind of getting a little tiff
There's
there.
some conflict, but luckily,
I like to think
We
of
have
them as kind
Tally.
of like,
Tally.
She's the glue.
The
she's the
glue.
heart.
you know, we have like we've got two alphas basically in terms of Raelle and Abigail, and it's kind of like unstoppable force meets immovable object, and then I'm just this. Tally is this shiny glue in the middle,
Such a cute shiny
but
glue.
you know, but serving a really important point, which I think, you know, if I were to say that there's like a heart to the show, it's this unity, and it's you know that we need each other to survive.
Yep.
And so while they have their own agendas going into it, you're each carrying their cross, as it was. You know, I think Raelle's particularly rooted in losing her mother and her rage in the system that's that has so caused her pain, and Abigail and the shadow of her mother, who is just this legend.
And she's definitely dealing with things internally as well, which is why she projects that persona of, I have to be in charge, I have to lead.
I think that's a huge play on like toxic masculinity too, considering the gender roles are flipped, but that suppression of emotions and not using your support system in a healthy way, not communicating the way you feel, and you know, sort of suppressing all of that feeling in order to portray a very stoic image.
And to be a leader, which is what she's supposed to be, right? The bellwether unit, as we call it in the show. She really does have to learn that a leader can't just think about herself. She has to include everyone and realize that's how you get to where you want to be, is by working together and, you know, relying on those that she loves.
When we were working on the characters, I remember thinking, like, if we're trying to come up with, like, character types, I think we have, like, the perfect triangle. We have the rebel, who is very much about questioning the status quo, and she represents, I would think, the mind. And we have Abigail, who's the warrior, the perfect leader, and she's very much bringing the body. And then Tally would bring, she's the truest believer. She's, you know, 100% earnest and innocent.
She's the heart.
Innocent that has innocence that is yet to grow up. And I think if, you know, innocence grown up would be wisdom. And so she would be the heart. And I think the body, the leader, learns to grow into her courage and take action and own her role that she has been born to fill. And the rebel learns to care, to love, to open herself to love again.
It's interesting because these are soldiers, and we're used to seeing that as a very masculine thing. But since gender's not really an issue here because they're all women, it's really interesting to just explore that dynamic of these like really powerful women working together. That sisterhood is like what makes the women stronger, right? And we always see like men can't work together as well, but for the women soldiers, that's like the only way that they can fight is by joining together. And is that kind of the underlying message? Is just like that sisterhood is sort of
and
I think that's a theme we want to see in our community and in the media, is women empowering each other, uplifting each other, because
rather than things being a competition.
Which you know? It's and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's how I grew up, seeing it in the media. I always felt threatened by other women, or other women felt threatened by me.
Dog eat dog. Woman putting down women. That's massive.
And so we're all fighting for this. We all have the same goal, the same opportunity, but we're willing to tear each other down to get it, which makes it literally makes no sense
but
at
in
all.
this show, you have to literally like sing in harmony.
Oh yes,
to overcome your obstacles.
Like we live and die together in terms of how well we work together.
And when Anacostia tells us you rise and fall as a unit, that's everything. And I think that really attests to what Taylor
that's a greater metaphor for the show.
We're all chasing that same opportunity, and I mean that reflects in our workspaces too. You know, in our career field, it's we're all chasing that opportunity to get a chance to be something other than the wife or the sister or, you know, just a very secondary character. And so, I mean, walking onto the set, all these women are just so intimidated by each other, and through the process of, you know, letting our characters play out on screen, I think we also grew that bond in person. Like, I've never had this type of relationship outside of my family with women.
I'd say the strength for sure. The strength of the show is the diversity of the cast, and it's gone, on and off.
Our show is very diverse, not even just in front of the camera, but behind. We had 8 out of 10 directors were women.
It's phenomenal.
So
and also we're
proud of that.
We don't even feel kind of whole right now because we have 3 ladies who should be here with us.
We're missing so many moving pieces.
Demetra McKinney in Atlanta, Lynn Renee, I think she may be in London.
She flew to London. She was in LA.
And Amalia Horn, who is
Sweden.
She's in Sweden.
I think she's shooting something right now.
Those are
our
other
sisters.
3 ladies who worked so hard to bring you all of this.
Annie and Sarah, you could go on.
I really like this vibe, guys. I'm just enjoying. I mean,
we haven't even gotten started.
Right, because it's such a female-driven narrative, and that's always amazing to see. They're young women, they're diverse women, but to see and hear your experience on set, it just seems like this really just kind of beautiful experience to be a part of.
But we should take a heartbeat and also just like the people behind
Yeah.
I mean, the men.
It was
as well,
grueling.
in our corner. I mean,
The
Eliot,
hours,
You know,
The fact that Eliot is a man and wrote this show
yeah.
is just
The idealisms that came
Yeah.
from a man's mind show such a significant shift in.
Yes. And he was
art.
very open with us. Like if we had a question about a line or our character, he would let us bring
Very
our
collaborative,
aspects to
interactive, yeah.
what we wanted to.
How fleshed out is this world? Because again, this is an alternative kind of universe. There's a lot of backstories, I'm sure, that exist. How much of that do you guys know? Has he shared with you, or that you get to be a part of creating?
Oh my.
when did he start telling us about all? Okay, so I just remember because I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, so I flew about 30 hours.
Really?
Just in
We
time
couldn't
to
tell
make
from the accent at all.
Couldn't you? Just to make the table reading, and I remember being there doing this table reading, and that kind of feels like the last audition
It was like for the pilot.
for the pilot.
Yeah.
And then I remember Steve taking us aside and, he handed us acting books because he'd been taking a few classes as a director just to communicate with his actors. This is Steve
amazing.
Edelson.
His team went above and beyond.
And above and beyond. So
all
that was
because-
just from the director. And then we have the showrunner who is so available to us, and he's built this world. So it's, any questions that you have, he's there to
He's a
answer.
walking Wiccan Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times.
And for our show, like literally, let's
walking
say
Wiccan Wikipedia.
Yeah, let's say we go 6 seasons. I can ask, hey, Eliot, what do you think will happen to Abigail in season 6? He knows. Has the whole world
It's
in his head.
Insanity.
Do you guys know where your characters are eventually going to end up? Like, have you gone into the future?
I think he likes keeping that element of
Yeah.
surprise for us.
Yeah.
Because
We
we
know-
get scripts and we're like, no way.
Oh.
My God.
Oh,
I
yes.
knew it.
Like, he gave us arcs at the beginning of the season
Yeah.
before we started, but then there are twists
Yeah,
when you
it's
read
changed
the
so
scripts.
much too
Yeah.
from the original. He's just like, oh, how about if I throw that in?
Yeah.
That'll really throw him for a loop.
So he gives us kind of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And sometimes I also just love being surprised.
Don't
We're
trust
reading
the
in the
Easter
table
eggs.
read, and we're all just like laughing, and we're like, "Oh my God, did we
crying.
really just?" Or
Do you remember episode
Oh
10?
gosh, yeah, bawling,
So episode 10 is one to look forward
sharing
to.
a box of Cartem's donuts, crying our eyes out.
bawling. And literally, I read it, and there's a big scene. It's between all 3 of us. Oh yes, sorry. Could you not hear me this whole time? Whoops. No, it's between all 3 of us. But mainly me and Taylor. And I was like, "Did you read 10?" And she was like, "No, I haven't read it." I said, "Just tell me when you get to it." She's like, "What is it?" I'm like, "No. Just tell me." She was like, "Ashley, I can't." And then Jessica is at that moment too, and it's
Yeah, I don't know how you got all this information before us.
I
You
wish
have-
I
she
wish
has
I
her
had
ways.
ways.
She
She
has
finds
her
out
ways.
everything. It doesn't matter if
have
it's
my
press or
ways.
trips or scripts. She finds out
my
everything.
ways.
If you want to know anything, ask her. She'll get it for you.
I am interested to know, because the show is based around kind of witchcraft and like the Wiccan culture. What is the most interesting thing you guys have learned about this world? Like, did you research witchcraft at all?
yeah.
Or
We did a lot of like, me and Jess, I think we're already initially into
Yeah,
these kind of
into it.
practices, sage, tarot, crystals.
They definitely educated me on it because I was not really aware.
We
of
shopped
all of
around
it.
at different
Yeah.
stores and things like that. And we read tarot and,
Yeah.
over a couple of drinks, all of the girls in the hotel rooms. And we were just, playing around with these things. I mean, you had your witch book.
I had a
actually.
crazy experience
God.
So a few months, my mom and I have this ritual where we go to a secondhand bookshop, usually in January for her birthday, and we just let the book speak to us, kind of get inspiration. Sometimes it's from the covers, sometimes it's the name. And that year, 2018,
18.
was when we got the pilot.
Yeah.
And I was an actress in South Africa, just looking for an international manager, somebody who would just send me a self-tape, just give me a break, just kind of let me in the door. And I'd been reading this book, Witches by Erica Young. And it's a beautiful compilation about not just some historical facts, about kind of where the symbol of the witch originated. And it's fascinating. And then you've got also the beautiful artistic components of her poetry and her visual work. And I remember when I taped for the audition, which I thought was an audition for my manager, just to see what I could do. And
Plot twist.
they called me at midnight, my time, because we're 9 hours ahead, and said, Freeform wants to chat to you right now. They like your tape.
She's in a robe.
And I just,
Like come fresh out the shower.
I was like literally in my hippie pants. They know me. And I was just not ready to have a business meeting. And they said, they understand the time difference, but they won't wait. Like, let's do it.
They're like 10 minutes, throw some
I
mascara
was-
on, go.
Yeah.
She's like,
Towel wrap, it's fine,
Managed to kind of grace the screen and just, hi. And they were like, oh my gosh, there she is. And I'm like, yep, here I am. Surprise.
so you came.
And they were like, what do you think about the script? What do you think about witches in general? And I said, well, I mean, kind of the craziest thing is I've just been reading this book. And, I show the book and Eliot, our showrunner, he just took a moment and he was like, that's crazy. That's a book my mom gave me when I was little. That's been a hugely influential around just, this idea that's been brewing in him. And, this dream of Motherland before he even put pen to paper. And so...
There are no accidents,
I
right?
mean,
It's crazy.
stars aligning.
Another really cool thing too that I didn't know, I found out from Amalia. So they had an entirely separate witch trials in Sweden with a whole different rich history. I know, it blew my mind, and so many crazy things happen. So if this something you're interested in, definitely it's worth a Google. It's interesting. But one thing I think Motherland does so well that no other show seems to shed light on is just the divinity and the true meaning of Wiccan culture. I think it's so demonized. It's such a misunderstood community, and it's so much about femininity and light and supporting each other and healing.
You were even saying the pentagram, like it means peace.
It's so misunderstood. It's actually like the flipped pentagram that's made out to be a satanic symbol.
But it's hard. And media is partially to blame, right? Because there's a lot of shows that take a lot of creative license with the Wiccan culture, and so it's like that's what people see.
Well, the Halloween
hard to combat.
interpretation.
Burn down the hook-nosed cackling witch. That's our
yeah,
goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On that note, you guys get to do some cool like magic, some stunts. You're like levitating.
Blaster, do you want to take this?
So did you have a wild day on set? Because there's like a lot of like weird, and I know probably a lot of stuff is like CGI'd in after or whatever too.
Probably like more
which
stunts
day
than
should we
acting.
talk? We felt
Which
like
day or which day?
Okay, you had very heavy-handed.
Thank you,
we had
Jessica.
some
I'm here
stunt.
for you.
I felt like a stunt woman by then.
You were a stunt
I
woman.
was. I had so many fight scenes, and of course we trained for like 3 weeks before we did
Very little time.
Yeah,
we had.
very little with the rope dart that we were given, this ancient weapon. All this. But
Did anybody like smack themselves in the face?
Oh
with
my
that?
God.
That's the first thing I
That's why
thought.
they put
So we touched
balls
tennis
at
balls.
the end of it, and not the actual dart in the blade.
Hey, tennis balls still hurt.
Oh, they
And
do.
no hand-eye coordination between the three of us.
I walk into walls, so and sometimes I say sorry. So there's that too. Cool.
But the backstory of the history of rope dart too.
Oh,
take it?
you want me to say? Well,
Either or.
you
You actually-
but you got you know.
I
the
didn't even
whole
know it.
thing,
You
yeah.
said this morning, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? It's
oh
what?
yeah. So
Oh, really? You didn't
Yeah.
know? Okay.
Who wants to describe what a rope dart is?
So rope
No, she
dart
got
is
it.
Yeah.
it's basically it's an ancient forgotten martial art, and it's something that Chinese farmers used to protect themselves because they were too poor to afford any machinery or any metallic tools or anything heavy-handed like that. So what they would do is they would fasten a literal knife or a dart to the end of a rope and swing it in a fashion that sort of creates like an impenetrable shield. And that was their form of hands-on combat.
So
And
as you can see, we cannot use an actual knife at all.
No, of course not.
We would be. I don't know. If
I think you'd be dead.
It's-
Yeah,
I think that's how that
It's
works.
very-
hospital, not here.
Yeah.
That's for
But
sure.
it's similar in terms of physicality. It's very similar to anything you see, like spinning batons or fire spinning, anything like that. It's very, very much the same physicality. It's kind of like learning juggling. The
You feel more
coordination is
confident
insane.
now with the.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can do some cool stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
got a
We
rope?
have some.
Yeah.
And a tennis ball.
Actually, I do.
She's like, you know
She
what?
pulls it out. She's like, so here you go, and you're on right now.
But now, like
Let's
on
see.
your actor resume, you can put that on there because I know they're always asking for special skills, right?
I can't imagine having to use that on any other show.
You
But
never know.
It will go on my resume.
You
However,
never know.
swimming and horseback riding will probably come
Still-
before rope
yeah.
dart.
There'll be, like the little razor scooters, maybe that too.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Man, we worked with some amazing stunts and our trainers, so we were in good hands.
Yeah.
We had a phenomenal stunt.
But we also
Really
felt
good.
responsible, I think, kind of being a part of a military show.
We
It
did.
was such a big component of the actual show that, we had to get in.
We did a massive
get
percentage
our
of our
hands
own
dirty.
stunts.
Yep.
Sure.
So
We really did our stunts.
We're very enthused about stepping into our characters.
We're
for
like,
sure.
all right, let's go. They're like, are you okay? Are you hurt? It's
Nah,
fine.
nah, we're
Anything
good.
for the shot. We got it. Let's go. Like, come on.
I'm really interested too, and looking in the show, we mentioned gender's not really an issue because they're all women, but there are conversations around race and identity. So I'm interested if you could tease how those things are going to kind of build or play out, because there's definitely a lot of layers to these characters, and I can imagine that specifically when it comes to their race or sexual orientation, those things are going to become important because this is a military setting.
Yeah.
Well, Abigail in general is very sexually free, I would say.
For identity, yeah.
Yeah, she, it's very much as, you see a man in our world and it's like he can sleep with however many people and he's kind of praised or not really shamed about it, and women are shamed. And in our world, we have no shame. I literally have a line, I'm like, shameless,
And
shameless
sex
for
should be
civilians.
celebrated. you
Yeah,
know? And
it
I
should,
think
yeah.
that's such a great thing that Motherland brings. I mean, along with,
language.
yeah.
Language and sex, I would say, are like two really important themes, and how that feeds into waking the witch, waking the woman. Because these, that's my sound bite
I
from
know.
Motherland.
I know.
Because it's just such, you kind of are at a loss to how to kind of dive in to describe that. But that's really, I feel like that's, for me anyways, gives a good end to the show. Whatever that means to you, coming into your power and watching these characters, not just as women, not just as witches. These are, individuals, and they've got so much to learn. And I think this world, this reality, can relate
Yep.
to that.
Yep.
But what is so incredibly freeing is to see this portrayal of especially young women who don't know yet what they're capable of, coming into sex, losing virginity,
Huge.
Tally, and she's very eager and very enthusiastic, and that, for me, I remember going to Eliot and going, oh, it feels like desperate, and he goes, but this isn't this world. You don't have any shame about this. And she's 18, and she's never been kissed, and she's
so
It's-
cute.
she's star-crossed.
that-
She's star-crossed,
That stigma's been drilled into your brain,
Right.
and you're like, well, shouldn't I feel desperate? It's like, why? Men are allowed to do that. Why
And
shouldn't we be?
I'm literally like, oh, honey, like, I've maybe been
I
around the
got you,
block a
baby.
couple times. But I'm like,
Shameless.
I got you.
let him come to you. He can do the work.
But touching on a race and identity, I think that's actually something that Motherland does so well, is they never point out someone's skin color or
At all.
gender or sexual orientation.
age.
Yeah, or
Biddies,
age, and
yeah.
the only segregation you really see is that divide between the civilians and the witches. And I think that is the metaphor of segregation in our communities, between all the things that we don't even touch base on. Like it's something so great that we do. Is as long as you keep pointing out labels and differences, there's always going to be differences.
Yeah.
And that common belonging, like belonging to something bigger than yourself, in this show would be probably, what Fort Salem stands for. And that changes as the show goes on, because everything is just not what it seems.
At all.
And then it's also the individual sense of belonging to yourself. Like, that's where you're going to really find, if you place your worth outside of yourself, in somebody else's hands, wanting gratification, praise, from an external source.
Yep.
You're vulnerable. And to really come into your own power is speak your truth forward. And
It's really a major.
home is here.
Yeah, we all three have arcs, but I also feel like even the show has a huge major arc, and you learn so many different things we do individually as ourselves, but also, as Jessica was saying, about Fort Salem and you know what it really means. And I feel like we just want everyone to be empowered from this show.
That's literally, I was just thinking, like, I
Yeah.
just feel really empowered in this
No,
conversation. And if you have a show that can inspire a
That's the
conversation like
goal.
this,
Yeah.
that's sort of the point of it, right?
Yeah.
Having art that tells these different narratives and lets people kind of explore and come into their own power themselves.
The narrative is
Yeah.
hugely seductive.
We do have a question from Twitter.
Ooh.
The Bitty Baby asks, I'm so excited to check out the show. What is your favorite classic witch movie or show?
Oh my God, I'm gonna get so much hate for this.
First of all, the Biddy Baby, we love that because we have biddies in our show.
Spelled slightly different.
spelled a different way,
ED,
but
not TD, but
yeah,
love it.
but it's still, you know. Mine would probably be Twitches from
Okay, I
you
feel
know,
less
Tia
bad
and
now
Tamara?
about my job.
Yes, Tia and
Yeah, Tia
Tamara
and
on
Tamara.
Disney Channel. Duh, you know, every Halloween I may or may not tune in. Probably may. I do 1,000%. Yeah,
I mean, a lesser regarded or known movie, but great.
yeah.
It doesn't get the
Amazing.
credit it deserves.
It doesn't.
Truly.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say Harry Potter?
Yes, because
Yes,
I
you
was going
are.
to say it. So
Okay, my second up would be
they have
Halloween
the same
Town.
brain. Halloween Town.
I'm so sorry, but like,
No,
I
don't
really
say
love
sorry.
Halloween Town.
No. As soon as I said Halloween, I was like, let me add the town to that because yes,
Halloween Town, it's really good.
all of them.
Halloween.
Yeah.
No shame.
basically
No shame.
collectively, I think. Twitches.
I actually haven't seen
Joe.
Twitches. Please don't hit me. I'm sorry.
Okay. So
We'll work-
after
we're
this,
something we're
you
working
know
on.
what we're doing after this? We're watching Twitches and Twitches too.
Wow. See, didn't even know that existed.
Didn't even know it existed.
There you go.
Don't know if it should, but I will
No.
check it out.
It should. It's great.
It's
It's
good?
great. It's good. It's
What's
good.
your favorite?
Hocus
Yeah.
Pocus.
Oh, that's that was
okay.
my other one.
Hocus
Okay.
Pocus is like,
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many
Jessica Sarah
times I've
Parker.
watched that movie.
Her character
Oh.
in that.
Who's?
She's
Jessica Sarah Parker.
Oh, it's great.
Yes.
amazing.
Have you guys seen a horror called The Witch? Was it just Witch? I forget. It
I
was,
might
it was an
have.
indie,
Uh-uh.
and I did the rounds. It
did the
was
rounds.
Really scary. Very
Watched
scary.
everything. She's a Googled
scary.
witch. Just watched everything that came up.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
blanked on the name of the director, but look it up.
But that's our
Good one.
homework. Watch Twitches too, and then
Yes.
also watch Motherland.
If you still got time for it or whatever.
No, make
No,
time.
It's alright.
They
Make
have
time.
time.
Top priority.
They'll have time.
You guys, you can check out Motherland Fort Salem. It premieres on Freeform on March 18th. And guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Looking
you
forward to
so
having
much
you.
for
Good luck
having
with
us.
the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.